Welcome to the Your Illini Nation pregame show. I am Brett Behrens here. We are getting set for Illinois at Michigan today. It is a CBS game, the first time in more than a decade that I found that Illinois basketball is playing right here on WCIA 3, and a Sunday afternoon game, nationally televised. This is a big deal for Illinois to get this stage and this moment today. And the Illini have to win to keep their Big Ten hopes alive. You would think after Wisconsin wins at Rutgers yesterday, they are in the driver's seat. Illinois starts the day a game and a half behind the Badgers for the Big Ten standings, and they need a win to keep their regular season title hopes alive. Here's the matchup today, 1 o'clock, top of the hour, right here on WCIA 3. Illinois ranked 15th in the country, trying to come off that loss to Ohio State on Thursday in Champaign, looking for their 20th win of the season. Be the third straight year if the Illini can get a win that they won 20 games in a season. Brad Underwood also looking for his 200th win in his career. We'll see if he can get that done. Michigan 15-11. They are playing for their NCAA tournament lives. They need a win as well if they are going to go dancing and really close the season out strong here. Of course, Michigan coach Juwan Howard will not be in attendance today, serving that 5-game suspension. This is number 2 of 5 for him, as he had an early exit from the Wisconsin game last Sunday after throwing that right hand in the face of Wisconsin assistant coach Joe Krabenhoff. So he is out today. Let's take you live to Ann Arbor. We've got coverage there from Andy Olson and Derek Piper. And guys, what's the scene like there at Chrysler Center today as Illinois trying to keep its regular season Big Ten title hopes alive?
There's a fun energy in the building today here, Brett. I mean, I think it's a maze out here at the Chrysler Center, as a lot of the students have already showed up in their maze colors. Michigan wearing maize today, so you know the fans are going to be in. And even though it's a Sunday matinee, and Derek, I mean, this place is always bumping. Illinois now coming back, looking to get the season sweep over the Wolverines. Brett already brought up the matchup. This game is so important, first of all, for Illinois and getting their chances alive and just keeping their chances going of winning a Big Ten regular season title. For Michigan, they're playing for seeding and almost their tournament lives at this point. As it's no certain thing that they're in the NCAA tournament, at least I would say at this point. So should be a really energizing one to watch. And Michigan, of course, like Brett said, without their head coach, a lot of different factors playing into this one.
A lot of storylines, and it definitely is a big game. You think about Michigan, they're right now on the right side of the bubble, that they could really put themselves in a good spot by getting a quad one win here today over Illinois. Of course, they want that revenge. Illinois has won the last 4 in this series, last 2 times they've come to this building. They, of course, blasted Illinois blasted them on this court last year, and then before that you had the IO game winner over Xavier Simpson. So Michigan's trying to get a little bit of revenge, and Illinois needed help after losing to Ohio State. They got a little bit of that from the Spartans with Tyson Walker coming up huge late down the stretch against Purdue. Wisconsin wins at the rack, but you're going to have Purdue and Wisconsin do battle in Madison. So you're going to hope that Purdue can win that. And if you take care of business today, go back home for your final 2, you still got a chance at that Big Ten title. But I think really just Illinois looking at bouncing back after a disappointing loss to Ohio State. And this is a rivalry game. You look at these 2 teams over the last couple of years, and Hunter Dickinson, Kofi Coburn, we missed out on that in Champaign. We'll be excited to see 2 of the top big guys in college basketball do battle today.
Let's talk about that bounce back as Illinois at Ohio State. It seems like we've seen it so many times before, Derek, where the Illini just kind of fade away, go away for 8 minutes at a time and have trouble on offense. It happened for the Illini at the beginning of the second half. They go down by as many as 16, but they do work their way back, getting into a 1-possession game before the end. Not able to finish the job as Trent Frazier's half-court heave, no good at the buzzer, but Illinois is going to want to try and shake that, and it seems like they're running out of opportunities to find their rhythm, because if we go back, and it seems like almost every game this season, there's been one of those scoring droughts in every single game, even their wins. And just what do you think is necessary for Illinois to do to get out of that and avoid that? They need to do that now more than ever with the tournament coming up here soon.
Yeah, we understand that basketball's a game of runs. There are going to be, 8-0, 10-2 type of runs for both sides within a game. That's pretty common to see, but these are so drastic and exaggerated here that Illinois is going through. To be on the wrong side of a 22-2 run for Ohio State in the last game, you think about on the road at Rutgers, it was 14-1 early in the second half. On their home floor, Super Bowl Sunday, Northwestern goes on 19-2. It's just Illinois having those 6 or 7 minute spans of time where things go wrong for them offensively. I know that Brad mentioned after the Ohio State game, I asked him anything you're seeing in these kind of moments. He says we do become a little too 3-point reliant at times. So I think that is, you're looking at a guard like a Trent Frazier or an Andre Curbelo, who we continue to come back to and say he's a big key to trying to reach your ceiling with this team. Being able to get in the lane and be able to maybe draw contact, maybe make a shot in the lane, closer range if the threes aren't falling. Of course, Kofi's been a guy that has the ability to break those type of scoring droughts, throw it inside. Maybe he gets fouled, maybe he scores one. But I just think that there have been moments where Illinois has lost their energy. They haven't really responded well to when they get punched in the mouth in those type of moments. So they got to have the want to be able to buckle down and say, hey, we can't let this slip away, because that's really dangerous. When you're starting to play with your season on the line, you go into postseason play, and you're on the wrong side of a 20-2 in the NCAA tournament, that might be it. That might be your season. So you definitely got to figure that out. You don't want this building rocking, because they're gonna be ready for Illinois. They're gonna want to win, and if Michigan's on some kind of extended run, that's going to be dangerous for the Illini today.
Yeah, last time these two teams played, you remember, it happened at the end of the game. It seemed like Illinois had that game going the entire time. Michigan comes all the way back at the very end and just misses, pulling that off. I mean, with their coach out, we saw how they reacted in their most recent game. This team's got to be hungry, and like you already said, the crowd's going to want to get them in this as well. They're hungry for a win over the Illini because Illinois, like you said, blasted them last year. No fans were in attendance that time. There's just got to be a lot of want in that Wolverine side not to lose 5 straight to the Illini.
Yeah, and these fan bases on Twitter are nasty to each other. They go
they
at
don't
it.
like each other at all. Even the players are being nasty to each other sometimes.
Right?
Even the fan base, yeah.
The Michigan fan base has got to feel like they need some ammunition to fight back. Illinois winning those recent matchups. Of course, they do have the Big Ten title banner up here somewhere. But, yeah, I think that it's going to be an intense battle. Michigan has shown some encouraging signs. They're a very disappointing team on the whole, but starting to figure it out. Caleb Houston just had his best game of the year in terms of scoring at a season-high 21 points, hit 5 threes, 5-star freshman who's profiled as one of the best shooters in that class, finally getting it going, so you got to watch out for him. Diabate's back after the 1-game suspension against Wisconsin. He can be a matchup problem at 6'11" as an athletic format. They look for Coleman Hawkins to really need to continue this nice streak that he's put together, and we can talk about that, what he did against Ohio State, one of the bright spots of that game. But I think he's very crucial. And Hunter Dickinson's had a great Big Ten season, really shooting it well in the mid-range, can extend out to 3, and it was a problem of Kofi defending outside of the paint against Ohio State. Hunter's going to be able to pull him away from the basket and make that tough for him. At the same side, Kofi can try to score on him on the inside, because really the last time they played here, neither one really did all that much on each other. It was kind of a wash. It'll be interesting to see today how that matchup shakes out.
All right, Brett, that's the scene from Ann Arbor, and as it always is with the Wolverines and Illini, it's about the center play inside. Hunter Dickinson, Kofi Coburn, they always trade blows, and of course, it's going to be one that we're watching out for again today.
Yeah, and Brad Underwood said all along when we talked to him yesterday that this is a completely different matchup, and he feels like the first time they played, Illinois wins by 15 in Champaign, and yet Hunter doesn't play. I guess Andre Curbelo didn't play in that game either, so you kind of give and take. I expect something completely different, and we can talk about Phil Martelli maybe being an upgrade to Juwan Howard, at least on the coaching side of that, with Juwan Howard once again serving a suspension today, will not be in the house. But just how different is this matchup in your guys' eyes for what it is? Because so much of the time, I think you can look back at the previous game that season in a series and say, okay, well, maybe you take some things from here. And you mentioned the other players like a Caleb Houston or some guys in there like Eli Brooks, even if he does play or doesn't play today on the court, they're warming up at least. How do those other factors kind of go into that along with Hunter? Because really, to me, that's where it all kind of starts and ends, Andy, is the matchup in the paint.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in these previous matchups, we didn't get that matchup, like you said, earlier in the season with Hunter Dickinson being out, but there's not many people that can size up Kofi Coburn in this league. You think about Zach Edey, Travion Williams at Purdue, Hunter Dickinson, and then you kind of have to rack your mind to think of anyone else that can really match them up just size-wise. And that, of course, then opens things up for the players on the outside, which means we have to look at the guard play, who's going to open things up better for their own team. But Coburn, has shown before that he's up for the challenge, at least against Dickinson, even if he's had a disappointing performance that he's coming off of against Ohio State. And to me, like you said, Brett, it probably starts with Kofi Cockburn and how well he's going to handle that pressure from Dickinson and then open things up for everyone outside, because we've seen with Grandison, Plummer, those guys are getting hot now from behind the three-point arc. So getting that space that Coburn's able to absorb could be huge in what Illinois does today, and could be completely different than what their game plan was earlier in the season.
Absolutely. Michigan is one of those few squads that can probably feel okay about going one-on-one with Kofi in terms of Hunter guarding him. And you look at, let's be honest, like Kofi in some of the bigger matchups against guys that are like size has struggled. Like Zach Edey, he did not play his best against him. Obviously in Champaign, played a little bit better at Mackey, had a little bit better of a showing, but Christian Coloco, when Arizona came to town, Kofi struggled in that matchup. He's going to have to be up for the challenge today. You do look back to last year, and I really thought that Kofi's defense bothered Dickinson with his physicality, not allowing Hunter to move him at all in his post-ups. I think Hunter only went 2 for 9 from the field. As I mentioned, he's transitioned more in terms of a stretch big, a guy that plays around the high post, even top of the key, and will look to rely on his jump shot. So that's going to be interesting. But Kofi being able to score through contact on Hunter, being able to be effective there, and they certainly need it, because I think that Michigan doesn't have to necessarily leave guys on the perimeter to double. We'll see if Kofi's getting the best of Hunter. Maybe they ultimately have to pivot to that. One thing I would say, Michigan has not been good at guarding the pick and roll. Their numbers, their analytics are really bad in terms of that action. Guards have really hurt them off the pick and roll, so I think that Illinois going to that, putting Kofi in ball screens, letting Trent come off, and allow him to make a decision. I know that Underwood talked about needing Trent to be more of a bucket getter in terms of his mentality and his aggressiveness. I think that's important, but then Kofi rolling to the rim, that's usually a good sign for Illinois when they're able to hit him, have him catch, and go up and finish strong.
As Brett, brought up, Phil Martelli coaching this one instead of Juwan Howard. We talked about his suspension, but do you think that's going to lead to Michigan maybe playing differently than how they did earlier in the season against Illinois in the State Farm Center?
It's hard to tell. I know that Brad mentioned in their last game against Rutgers they didn't play zone, and that was maybe one change that has been noticed from, when they have Juwan, they've utilized that quite a bit, and the last time they did not. So I'm not really sure. I think that we're still early on enough in terms of Martelli taking the reins that it'll be hard to necessarily know until we get into the meat of this game. Martelli's a very good coach, well-respected coach, had a lot of success at St. Joe's, and there's a lot of people out there that, Illini fans in particular, that kind of joke, you might be on the worst end of facing Martelli as the guy pressing the buttons than Juwan, but Juwan has won a lot of games here as well.
Yeah, he has. And just to bring it up now, there were some Twitter rumors about Eli Brooks. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? We saw him on the court shooting around, so it seems like he should be playing, and that's big time for Michigan, because without him, there's another one of their big presences on the court gone.
Yeah, this is a team in Michigan that struggles to shoot the three, especially at their guard. So he's the one guy that is a very good catch and shoot weapon. He's one of the best in the Big Ten, and he's known as a pretty good perimeter defender. He's very quick, he's strong. He started almost 100 career games here at Michigan, so a very veteran presence that they rely on, and he's very important to them. And I think that you look at last game, Devontae Jones was able to get his game going, had 17 points, attacking Alfonso Plummer. So if you were to take Brooks out of this game, all of a sudden Trent pivots and says he's going to check Jones. Now you're probably going to look at that Trent-Eli Brooks matchup yet again, and you're going to need Plummer to be a lot better defensively against Devontae Jones.
Yeah, Jones, like you said, that was really his almost awakening this season, was against Illinois. He didn't really have that much success this season before that point, and you can see how it's paid off for Michigan. As you've already said, not really the season that they would have wanted up until this point, but there's still a lot to be salvaged, Brett, and I think Michigan believes a win over Illinois can help out their season, get them going. Of course, helps with the seeding as we're getting kind of close. The last week of the regular season getting started a week from now. We'll know what the seedings are for the Big Ten tournament, where everyone falls, what everyone's path is to the Big Ten championship game. So, lot to play for, Brett, and those guards outside, Illinois' ability to shoot the three could be important in this one, especially if we get another low-scoring affair like we had the last time that these two teams played.
It's almost March. That brings a smile to my face, Andy, as we turn the calendar here. Get ready to, in just a couple of days, you said, the Big Ten finale for the regular season 1 week from today. Selection Sunday, just 2 weeks from today, where we will find out where Illinois is heading in that NCAA tournament. And I know Michigan's overall record not great at 15-11, but their metrics are actually pretty good for where they stand. Andy, how do you guys feel, and Derek, about that possibility? Because I feel like you have two teams fighting for similar things, but in a sense different. Michigan, remember, was the preseason favorite to win the Big Ten, and they have really fallen off and not where they're at. But like I said, their metrics still pretty good. Overall, just how do you look at this from a holistic aspect today for what these two teams are fighting for? Because after Wisconsin wins at Rutgers yesterday, you feel like the air was let out of the balloon a little bit in a sense. Illinois is still not out of it, but like they need a lot of help now, and they need Wisconsin to lose to Purdue at home on Tuesday. So just holistically, how do you guys kind of view this and what Illinois is fighting for here? Because remember at the end of last year, they won 14 out of 15. They were so good down the stretch, and that's just not the case from what we've seen this year.
Yeah, I would say that Michigan is probably fighting for more in this case than Illinois. Like you said, Brett, I mean, they need a lot of help for that Big Ten regular season title. But really, if you take care of business, if you're Illinois, you do get that first place. You got to hope, of course, that Purdue beats Wisconsin, which is entirely possible. I think Wisconsin can be beat as long as you take away Johnny Davis, which is a lot easier to say than it actually is to do. So you'll have to wait and see if that's even a possibility for anyone that plays the Badgers the rest of the way out. But we didn't think it was a possibility maybe that Purdue would lose to Michigan State, and of course that happens yesterday. Spartans getting their biggest win of the season so far. But as we said at the start of the show, it just feels like that with Michigan on that bubble, it seems like they're playing for more, they wanted more, and they're playing for a coach who's not going to be here. We talk about how that's going to change the team and how Michigan may play in this one, but that's got to change the mindset of a player as well. You know, your coach, the guy that you bought into, the guy that you committed to, is now there on the sidelines, whether he won't be for the rest of the regular season, whether or not you think he should have slapped the Wisconsin head coach or not. If you're a player, I'm sure you want him out there. I'm sure Michigan fans want Juwan Howard out here as well, but I feel like that's got to be a motivating factor, and in the end, it feels almost to me that Michigan is going to end up playing for more in this one than maybe Illinois is.
Yeah, I think you can look at it in terms of their NCAA tournament hopes and just kind of the way that it shapes out right now. Even being on the right side of the bubble, being in a lot of the bracketology projections, you want to get out of that first four, that type of a situation, and boost your seed as much as possible. But I know that a lot of people looked at it as, you can try from the Michigan perspective to look at that situation as something that can galvanize this team, to motivate them, and try to have them respond. On the flip side, Juwan didn't put his team in a very good spot as they pushed down this stretch run, and him not being available, not even in practice, taking away Diabate and Williams, who I thought would have gotten more of a harsher suspension. I didn't think that you'd see them available for this game ultimately. So, but they did respond against Rutgers and got a nice win here on their home floor earlier this week, and now another chance against Illinois. But maybe I'm giving Purdue too much credit because I know how good they can be and when they have things clicking, what that looks like for them. I'm expecting Purdue to go to Madison and get that win. Wisconsin's proved me wrong all year long, so I could be totally off base. But just the fact that the dominoes maybe have a line for you, and if Purdue does take care of business and get that done, of course Illinois is going to have to win this game. They're going to have to beat Iowa. You can't overlook Penn State, although they should win that game. The fact that a banner is still very much in play because of that win for Sparty yesterday gives Illinois a ton to play for as well.
Yeah, man, that win was so big because you're right that Illinois just needs that one game to go their way. Purdue entirely capable of getting it, and that gives Illinois so much hope that they can bring home that Big Ten championship. It seems like we in the media always talk about it. Brad Underwood doesn't want to talk about it as much, but and we've talked to the players how much that means to them, because we saw how much it meant to them last year when they weren't named Big Ten champions, and they felt like they should at least get a piece of that pie, and the Big Ten said, no way, it's not happening. And that's why Michigan has their banner hanging up and Illinois doesn't right now. So many storylines in this one. It's such an interesting matchup on paper. Of course, we go back to the last one, and Illinois won. Of course, going 5 straight against Michigan. That would be so important, so huge against a program that has been incredible under Juwan Howard in his first few years here at the helm of Michigan. But Derek, as we kind of start to wind down, Illinois still without some role players. Benjamin Bosman's for Donk, standing behind us, still in sweat, still in concussion protocol. RJ Melendez, no timeline for his return after the emergency appendectomy. Earlier in the week, we saw what that was like against Ohio State. It meant that they had to play 5 out for a bit because Omar Payne got into some foul trouble. Kofi Coburn was getting tired. Coleman Hawkins had to come in and play the 5. Do you think we'll see more of that today? Because we've already talked about how important, how good Michigan is inside with Dickinson. Is that even a possibility that Hawkins can play 5 out and be that man inside?
It would be interesting if Kofi were to pick up some fouls in that kind of situation. Would you trust Hawkins playing the 5 against Dickinson, knowing that he'd have a little bit of size on him, and if you wanted to take him in the post and try to post him up? Well, I just like the energy that Coleman's bringing. I think that he brings more to the offensive end than Omar Payne does. I mean, I know that you could throw some lobs to Omar, but Coleman's been a better rebounder. So I just like what Coleman's bringing to the table. There is still a lot of reliance on him because of the fact that RJ's not available. It's the guy that's lengthy and athletic that I know that Illinois would have liked to throw on Malachi Branham at some point on Thursday. So him being continually out puts more of an emphasis on Coleman to play extended minutes. And it's another situation where Luke Goody will get a little bit of time as well. But yeah, I think that some 5 out is an interesting look that Brad liked. And also, maybe you press him a little bit, because I know that has energized Illinois, that has brought some good things and some turnovers. And Brad has mentioned that it's after Rutgers, he kind of said, that was desperation. We're just trying to do anything to get back in that game, and after doing it again against Ohio State, he's like, I like it. I like the way that we're responding to that. Maybe that is a wrinkle, a card that we pull out of our back pocket, maybe once every game.
It's a classic Brad Underwood look, as it kind of reminds fans of his first few years here at Illinois. But all right, besides the matchup we already talked about, Dickinson, Coburn, what do you think today is going to be the most important matchup, or maybe just the most intriguing matchup between Illinois and Michigan?
I think it is Hawkins and Diabate. I think you got to go to Hawkins early in that matchup because Michigan loves to play high-low, but it's reversed. It's not the 4-man throwing down to the 5. It's Dickinson playing on the outside. It's them trying to post up Diabate. And this is a guy that last week at Iowa had 28 points and was really killer on the offensive glass as well. So if he has a matchup against DeMonte or Grandison, he's really going to be able to he's long and explosive. He's going to be able to score over them at will. I think that Hawkins has to not foul, and he has to be able to check that matchup. When you take that away from them or just limit that type of action, it really puts a stress on Michigan because they don't have the perimeter shooting. Like Devontae Jones has only made 3 of his last 24 threes. Trent on Eli Brooks, you imagine he's going to shut his water off or at least contain him. And I think that DeMonte on Caleb Houston can make sure that he's not getting too many good looks from 3 as well. So I think that Hawkins is a big, big key in this one just based on that matchup. And I think that going back to Trent Frazier being aggressive, he's only averaged 10 points a game in his last 8. And a lot of that work late in second half. So he hasn't really been impactful early in games. I think that he needs to be aggressive and go get buckets early on, especially with Hunter being able to D-up Kofi.
As for one, you got analysis on all of them, so that's the Derek Piper experience.
So
I don't think any of us do. We talk and we write for a living. We don't count for a living. All right, as we kind of close things out, Illinois is still on the court. We're about 30 minutes from tip-off now. Derek, let's get your final thoughts and your prediction about how this one's going to play out.
I think Hunter and Kofi's going to be a great matchup. I think both play really well. I think that Kofi will respond. I think you'll see him play with more physicality and finish around the basket at a higher rate today. I think Hunter's going to get his, though. I think he's going to knock down shots. I think he's going to take advantage of Kofi not being able to get out on him as well as some other bigs would. I think ultimately the guard play is going to be the difference for Illinois. I think Trent Frazier steps up. I think Plummer's going to hit some shots. And I think that Michigan, just their limitations from a shot-making perspective, is going to be a difference. So I think it's going to be a tight battle. It's going to be a highly intense game. I think it'll come down to the wire. I have Illinois. I picked a 1-point win, 75-74 Illinois.
Wow.
I juggled with this one. I'm not feeling great about it. It's going to be a really tough game, but I went with the Illini and a bounce back, 75-74.
I'm going to go with the Illini as well. I'm going to appease Illini Nation
Credit
this
to
week.
you for picking Ohio State.
I did call the Ohio State last
pick.
week. I mean, that was a good game all the way up until the end. So Illinois almost proved me wrong. And I'm going to go with the Illini this time around. I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring. I know that last time out, these two teams had a really good defensive battle. I'm going to go 63-60. Illinois still gets it by 3 points. I don't know what the spread is. I don't know what the total is either.
I think it's Illinois by 1 is the spread. I don't know what the total. I think it might be about 140.
I think Illinois covers. I think I'm going to go under as well. But that's my prediction. Derek, any final things that people can read? IlliniInquirer.com as they get ready for tip-off here in a few minutes.
I know Joey had a big notebook talking about just Alfonso Plummer, and he also wrote about Ty Rodgers, because Rodgers had some really good things to say about the Illini signee and what he's doing in the state tournament right now. I got my full breakdown, keys, and prediction. Joey, Jeremy, and I are here for reaction, podcast, and check us out, IlliniInquirer.com.
All right. That's fun. That's Derek. He's from IlliniInquirer.com. I'm Andy. Brett, we'll send it back to you. You can tell him where you can find all of the WCIA stuff, the podcast, the highlights, the post game. We need your prediction, too. What do you think is going to happen?
Good stuff, guys. As we look at the matchup here on the board, 15th ranked Illinois and Michigan at 15 and 11. 1 o'clock tip. It has slid back a little bit, so I'll give you an update on that. 1:12 tip-off time on CBS right here on WCIA, where you can watch it. I think this is going to be a little bit of a higher scoring game. I know, Andy, you took the low end there. I do like Derek's pick of that 75-74. I think that's pretty fair for what this might be, and that would put it at an over, just in case you were wondering. Vegas has this as a pick'em, essentially, so I think it's a little confusing. I'm not sure what the odds makers want to say with that. But hey, look, I think Illinois can go get the job done. I think they do win today. I'm going to take Illinois 72-70. How's that sound?
Just under what Derek has, 72-70. You guys a few points off. Wow.
We're all picking Illinois. All right, somebody's going to call us a homer. That's
all three Illinois.
That's okay too. All right, Derek.
What could go wrong?
Yeah. What could go wrong, right? We'll see what could go wrong. All right, Andy, Derek, thank you guys. You are clear from Ann Arbor. We will see them after the game for all the content on Illini Inquirer. As Derek mentioned there, make sure to check them out. Jeremy, Joey, and Derek do great work there at IlliniInquirer.com. And we'll hope you'll tune right back in here to these same digital channels post-game for Brad Underwood's post-game press conference. We'll play that live from Ann Arbor for you. His thoughts after the game. And we'll see who it is. If they're going to come out and keep its Big Ten title hopes alive. Here's one more look at the court. And we also had a question there about the officials today. It's everyone's favorite official, Bo Borowski, Courtney Green, and George Smith. Those are the three officials today for Illinois. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks so much for watching the